Hey guys, what's up? This is Mario here, bringing you guys another video, and today I wanted to discuss my ideas and thoughts on the new arena activity, the Prison of Elders. So hopefully you guys are going to enjoy this, and so here we go. So in case you don't know yet, in the House of Wolves upcoming expansion for Destiny, there is going to be a new arena activity called the Prison of Elders, which isn't going to be a raid. It's going to be much more different to a raid, but we don't actually know what it's going to be like yet. So before Bungie actually announces anything about the Prison of Elders, I thought I'd give my thoughts and ideas on what they could do with it, as well as my thoughts on the fact that there won't be a raid on day one with the expansion, and how I think the arena will be a good thing. So let's start off with my thoughts on the fact that there's going to be no raid in the expansion, which if you didn't already know, well, there's going to be no raid in the in House of Wolves on day one. They have said that they're working on an expansion for release later this year. Whether that be in the Comet DLC or before the Comet DLC, we don't know. But we do know that there will be a raid sometime later this year. But I actually think the fact that there's going to be no raid is a good thing for the game. And this is why. And it's because the thing that Destiny needs the most is new content. At the minute, players are getting very easily burned out because there's not enough things to keep them coming back. So every week you come back, you do your Nightfall, your weekly, you get your raids done, which some people don't even need to do anymore, such as me, who have everything in the game. And at that point, there's nothing really left to do that's useful, unless you're like me and you get creative and find things to do. But most people don't like to look for things to do in games, and they expect it to be handed to them, which is fair enough. I'm not going to complain at that. But anyways, getting back onto the thing, the fact that there will be a new arena activity is good for the game because it's new and it's fresh and people haven't seen it before. And that's exactly what Destiny needs at the minute, because people are getting burned out by the fact that there's not enough content to keep them coming back. And they've said that the arena is going to be focused on replayability. That's one word that's been popping up a lot when they've been talking about the Prison of Elders. And so that's why I think it will be a good thing for the game, is because it's something fresh, and people will hopefully, if they do it right, will hopefully be coming back for quite a long time to play this raid. And I hope that there'll be a bunch of different rewards maybe added, maybe over time they'll add more rewards. We're not too sure about much yet about this new expansion. But that's my thoughts on the fact there's no raid. It is a good thing. And also, if you're one of those people that is going to say, oh, but there's no raid, and the raid is the only reason that Destiny's good, so I'm obviously not going to like it anymore, you just need to try out the Prison of Elders. No one's even played it yet, so don't say anything before you play it. It might be really, really good. But anyways, now I wanted to get onto my idea of what the Prison of Elders is going to be like. So this is all one massive idea that I've come up with on my own, or not technically on my own. It's been a few ideas that I think would be pretty good. Actually, it would be either pretty good or I think will happen, and I put them all together in one big thing. So I'm going to tell you guys that right now. So that I think that the Prison of Elders will of course be a horde mode sort of thing. And so horde mode, in case you don't know, is essentially where you're fighting off enemies that are getting increasingly more difficult as you play, but it goes on indefinitely. So essentially you're constantly, you're going to be fighting enemies forever until maybe you have a set amount of lives, you have a set amount of respawns, or before you get kicked out of the game and you have to restart from the beginning. We're not too sure about all this, and that's not a part of this. I just want to go over what I think. But I think that it will start off in a massive big main room, where there will be maybe a few enemies. I don't know, maybe like 5 waves of enemies will spawn, and then there'll be some doors that'll open, or they'll be open for you to go through. And these will lead to procedurally generating rooms. And if you don't know what that means, it means rooms that generate as you play, essentially. So it's going to be a random room completely from scratch. Of course, they're going to have like a few base models in there. And remember, this is all speculation. None of this is actually confirmed. This is all just what I think would be awesome and would make a great replayable experience. And so essentially these rooms are going to be generating as you're playing, which I think would be awesome. It would add a bunch of replayability because you'd never know where you was going to go after the first 5 waves of enemies. And so yeah, like I said, each room you step in will be random and it will be different to the previous room. Another thing that would switch things up even more in these rooms is that there could be certain modifiers and adjustments to each room. And these are some of the ones that I came up with. So first of all, these skull modifiers from the Nightfall. So this is stuff such as Angry, Light Switch, Juggler, and the Arc, Solar, and Void Burns. So each room you step into, in the chat, or the part where it comes up with all the kills and deaths and stuff like that, you guys know what I mean, just above where all your abilities are, it could say this room has the modifier, let's say Void Burn, and so then you might either rush to get all your Void weapons out, or you might just leave it as it is. And let's imagine that it's maybe Arc Burn actually, and there's Fallen in the room. Then you know you're gonna have to take it carefully because most of the Fallen have Arc weapons. And this could make it really interesting because you could step in a room, maybe you have all solar weapons on, and all of a sudden it's Arc Burn, and you realise that your teammates are actually doing more damage than you are. So there's one idea. My second idea for like the adjustments to the rooms would be random mini-bosses that would spawn in, and they would have a rare chance of appearing in rooms, and would drop some mid-tier loot such as blue engrams, or a purple engram, or coins, motes, materials, and consumables. Something like that, but mini-bosses just to spice things up a little bit, kind of like strike bosses, so like, Valus, Tarok, Sepix Prime, you guys get what I mean. It doesn't have to be Sepix Prime, it doesn't have to be a literal copy-paste of an already existing strike boss, but it could be, but that's something I think would be cool. It'd give players reasons to come back. Oh, I might be able to farm blue engrams by finding mini-bosses in the arena. That was my kind of a thing there. And then scattered around the map, there would be a limited amount of massive rooms, kind of like the one that you started out in, and these would be where the main bosses of the raid would be, essentially. And basically, yeah, so if you've played, like, Vault of Glass, this would be like the Templar and Atheon, and in Crota, it would be like Crota and the Death Singer, essentially. And so, yeah, you would have the main bosses, and these could be mechanically driven, or it could be just a normal raid boss, kind of like Crota, so it's just shoot and kill and shoot and kill. Or it could be like, you've got to go through loads of mechanics to do the boss fight. And this is how you get the raid gear in this version that I've created. This is how you get all of the raid gear from the Prison of Elders. Then in some rooms there could be different types of enemies, and by that I simply mean that there's not just going to be the Fallen, since the expansion's based around the Fallen. There could also be randomly in rooms the Hive, the Vex, and the Cabal. Even though maybe some of these characters in the storyline don't actually go to the Reef, I'm not too sure. But anyways, next one is rooms with literal custom modifiers, and by that I mean, so you step in the room and you've got the presence of Crota, for example, which means that you don't regenerate health. Or maybe you've got Mark of the Void, so you're slowly going blind, and you've got to rush across to a cleanse bubble to get rid of the Mark of the Void. And then my final other idea, which actually kind of led from the previous one, is that some rooms will have objectives. So, for example, maybe you've got to get one teammate to stand on a pad each. There's 3 pads scattered around the room, and you've got to step on them all. And once you do, enemies will stop spawning, and everything will just die. And then maybe also, like I said previously, you could get your team to rush to a cleanse bubble on the other side of the room, whilst you've got the Mark of the Void, and if one of you dies, then maybe you get wiped. I don't know, it's just an idea, guys. Like I say, none of this is confirmed. And of course, on the first run, you would receive loot rewards for killing the several major bosses. So this is the raid weapons, raid armor, so the stuff that's going to get you to the level cap, essentially. And then you can keep coming back to the arena to get smaller rewards, such as the engrams, coins, motes, materials, consumables, from the mini-bosses and from the objective rooms. And I think that this would let players keep coming back, because it would be a way for them to get things that won't necessarily progress them a lot, but it'll help them to get things that will kind of help progress them, no matter what time of the week it is. And if players can be bothered to farm the arena for maybe like 10 hours, for example, I mean, that's how much replayability in one session I'm talking about. They could get a bunch of engrams, a bunch of coins, a bunch of motes. I'm not saying all of this stuff would be very common, I'm just saying that it could be dropped. But anyways, guys, I'm going to end off this video here because it's getting rather long and I don't want you guys here forever. So thank you guys for watching this video. If you agreed with anything that I said or you want to add some input, remember to leave a comment down below. Also, remember to smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe for daily gaming content. Remember to follow me on Facebook, Twitter and Twitch, links in the description below, and I'll see you guys in another video, so until then, ciao.